Six-time Olympia champion,
Did I set the standard?
you have been the greatest champion that we could have possibly asked
Could I have done more?
for. Give it up for Siegel.
He is proving right now he is the standard.
Was I honest about all it took to get here? Will I be remembered just for what I did? Or who I was?
It's Chris Bumstead here. I'm 21 years old. I will be making the switch to classic physique, so might as well step on stage and give it a shot.
Did I set the standard high enough? Only if you've decided to set your own.
Don't stress in the face of adversity. Make adversity something you desire for an opportunity to grow. It sounds an awful lot like probably what I need to take a little bit of advice from.
It could be interpreted in a, you can still stress about it. It's okay to feel the stress. More so the stress that leads to avoiding the adversity. Because, you know, and the other funny thing that I've thought about, very related to this, is going through adversity. You know, my life is very revolved around competing in Olympias. When I go through adversity now, I'm like, this could be a part of my speech, you know? I tore my lat last year. I'm like, when I win this Olympia and I stand up on stage and I tell people I tore my lat in the middle of this prep, they're gonna be like, oh my God. And it's gonna make this story that much cooler. You know, and it's gonna push me beyond to the levels of which I know that I'm capable of accomplishing. It's gonna show me that when something feels impossible, it's not until it's not. You know, I gotta keep pushing through and figuring it out. And so the stress is okay to feel in adversity. It's where the stress leads you that you need to avoid. You need to prevent the stress from being strong enough to make you avoid adversity in the first place. If you start to feel stress about adversity, I think diving right into it is like the secret for growth.
If your definition of success is win or lose, giving everything you've got and growing or learning along the way, then you're setting yourself up for success. I really think the biggest cheat code in life is just going after it and not being concerned of whether or not you fail at one specific task. Instead, understanding the big picture, what your long-term goal is, and knowing if you keep driving forward and never fucking quit, in the end, you will succeed.
Great quote. I've based a lot of my life in the past about my definition of success and my definition of being a champion and my definition of winning. And I think it all just comes down to, you know, again, your values. When I'm old, what's the end of this look like? You know, my values of being the best partner, father, person I can be. When I'm 50, if I have 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 Olympias, are any of those affected by that? No. So in this short-term goal of this moment of me wanting to win, is this very important? Yes. But is the pressure of my life and value and worth dependent on that? No, it's not. It's the big picture of my life that I'm focusing on, of who I want to become going through all these things. So if I win an Olympia, how do I want to win that Olympia? Who do I want to be when I win that Olympia? How do I want to win it? How do I want to show up in my relationships? If I lose that Olympia, how do I want to lose? Who do I want to be when I lose? Who am I becoming through all these little challenges and goals along the way that aren't the big picture? Who am I becoming, which is the big picture? And I think that's so important for me to understand that everything that you choose to do and how you handle it is shaping who you're becoming. And at the end of the day, when you're old and have grandkids and children in your life, you're the culmination of everything you've accomplished, but also how you accomplished it and how you reacted to it. What's the big picture? Who do you want to become?
Isn't it interesting that you could have, you know, the same mantelpiece above the fire that's got however many Olympias on it, and objectively, when grandkids are bouncing on your knee, they can look and see the same thing, but the person behind them and the experiences that they went through and who they became in the process can be totally different.
Yeah.
Which kind of shows that the outcomes that you get really are, in the end, kind of arbitrary. And it's the person that's behind the grandkid that kind of matters.
Yeah, exactly. If I had a picture of myself and I hadn't never won an Olympia, and then I had a picture of myself that had won 6 Olympias, and my kids were looking at it, holy shit, you were jacked, Dad. That's where their thought ends. It's not like you had 5, you had 6, you had 7. It doesn't matter, you know? That's cool, you're jacked, but who are you and how do you show up in my life every day? You know?
And how did those pursuits, how did the goals that you tried to achieve or did achieve change you?
Yeah.
How did they cause you to be a different sort of father or grandfather or husband or friend or business partner or whatever?
And what lessons did you learn and take from them that you can give to me so that I can learn from them and hopefully not go through as much pain while still learning the same lesson?
This is a pretty important one. Everything changed for me when I realized that we're not meant to feel excited and perfect all the time. I started accepting that where I am right now is where I'm genuinely meant to be. Tough days are all a part of the process. Lean into them. Bad days are also part of a very good and meaningful life. So on my toughest days, I think about getting through one more day, one more workout, one more rep.
Yeah. I think, this applies deeply on a smaller level of the starvation of prep when you're trying to get through it and you're just trying to get through one more. What was the first part of that quote again?
Everything changed for me when I realized we're not meant to feel excited and perfect all the time.
Yeah, this was the idea of pursuing happiness, not leading to happiness. You know, you pursue things that have meaning in life and things that you care about. You know, love, challenges, relationships, and happiness might ensue. But you don't pursue the happiness itself because it's inevitably not going to be there all the time. So if you're just constantly seeking more happiness and it's not there, then you're seeking something that's never going to be there. But if you're able to just stick in what you're doing right now, and in those hard times, believing they're going to lead to good times, it just creates a lot less friction in your life, you know? And I think whenever we're going through a hard time, we just want it to end. But it's those moments that allow us to appreciate the good ones.
What would you say to someone who's going through a string of bad days or bad weeks or bad months?
Say it's okay. You're not alone. You know, I think sometimes a quick word of just looking at them and being like, I know, you're not alone. Give them a hug and be like, this is shit right now, and it's okay. But you're not alone.
What does lean into them mean? Lean into the bad days?
I think specifically nowadays, it's so easy to numb. There's so many distractions. There's so many things that we can just avoid feeling things with, you know, staple being your phone. You want to cry, you fight your tears, you're feeling stressed, you're overthinking something, so you just pull up Instagram and you doom scroll for 20 minutes, you get distracted, you see a funny video of a cat, close your phone and you forget about it. That's not gone. Those feelings are still there. They're just pushed down from a couple Instagram videos that are distracted. And next thing you know, a couple days go by and you just feel this anxiety over yourself. And you're like, why do I feel anxious? I just feel like I can't sleep and wake up at 5 a.m. overthinking. Like, I don't know what's going on. I have no idea. People are like, well, are you stressed about anything? Like, no. And this is something that I've had to call myself out on. If you ask me if I'm stressed half the time, my answer is no. Are you stressed? No, I'm fine. I feel great. And then if you look at me, you're like, do you feel calm? Do you feel at ease? Do you feel relaxed? I'd be like, fuck no. So where am I feeling? And for some reason, stress to me is like numb, but it's stress, so I don't really feel it. And it's typically from not allowing myself to lean into the shitty times, the shitty thoughts, the shitty days, and being able to sit with them and be with them, accept what they are, and process them properly, rather than just numbing them.
It's so funny that you use the word lean into them. Ben Bergeron in Chasing Excellence says, lean into discomfort as if you invited it through the door. And it's a phrase that stuck with me because it feels like you are in control of the frame. Like, okay, in you come. And
let's do this.
Yeah. As opposed to, again, the fear that you have around being guilty, or the agitation you have around being shameful, or the distraction that you need to do in order to be able to get away from it. It's an interesting one to think about, how bad days are also a part of a very good and meaningful life, that it does really frame the story at the end. Both you and Hormozy have said the same thing in the last 2 episodes I've spoken to you about, which is the bad days create the story that I'm one day going to tell myself about what I got through.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Without the bad days, the story would be way more lame. There would be no glory in overcoming anything, because what did you overcome? It was all just 40 to 60, vanilla ice cream mush, gray, like, existence.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the concept of the fear exposure therapy. When you're trying to build confidence about something you're afraid of, being exposed to the fear helps you overcome that. But actively choosing to take that fear on head on is actually what it takes. I can't throw a spider at you and you're not afraid of spiders, but you choosing in your own mind to actively go to that spider by yourself makes you actually grow from it. So you choosing to take power of what little you can when you're feeling like, when everything's crumbling around you and you feel powerless and helpless, well, what can you take control of? You can take control of opening your door and letting that, embracing that, leaning into that hard time. Like, I'm going to choose to feel this. It's here. I didn't choose that, but I'm going to choose to feel it. And I have power over the choice of what I feel. And then you take your power back and you can build your confidence from there.